The Bold and the Beautiful, episode recap for Monday, October 6, 2025, secrets, strategies, and the shadow of a paternity test as Monday's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful aired on October 6, 2025. It delivered exactly what fans have come to expect: shocking secrets, long-awaited confrontations, emotional fallout, and the ever-looming weight of truth threatening to destroy fragile illusions. With the paternity of Luna Nozawa's baby still in question, and key players aligning their loyalties and intentions, the stakes have never been higher. Each scene brought new layers of conflict, pushing relationships closer to the edge while setting the stage for what's shaping up to be one of the most dramatic paternity reveals in recent memory. Let's dive into the unfolding chaos. The episode opened with Dickie Sharp, an ambitious young designer with a restless energy and an eye on the Forrester legacy. Dickie has been moving in silence for months now, dating Remy Price behind closed doors while simultaneously keeping his personal involvement in Remy's controversial manipulation of Elektra Forrester a secret. Dickie might seem like just another hungry up-and-comer, but he has deeper plans. And on this day, he made a bold move to bring them into action. He approached Hope Logan directly, seeking an opportunity that could change the course of his life forever. Hope, caught in the emotional whirlwind of her own personal life, was not expecting Dickie's visit. But Dickie didn't waste time. He explained to her that fashion wasn't just a dream, it was his survival, his passion, his way out. He spoke about his admiration for Forrester Creations, the innovation, the legacy, and how he believed he had something fresh to offer. He didn't just want a job. He wanted Hope to believe in him. He asked for a real chance to prove himself. Hope, recognizing the fire in his words and the determination in his eyes, listened carefully. But her mind wasn't entirely on fashion. She was also weighed down by the secret she was holding. The knowledge of Luna's survival and the pregnancy that might shatter more than just one life. Meanwhile, across town, Will Spencer was deep in conversation with Elektra Forrester. The emotional space between them had never felt wider. There was still love there, strong and undeniable, but now there was doubt. And worse, a child that might forever tie Will to Luna, the very woman who had nearly destroyed everything. Will was trying to hold on to hope. He still believed in his future with Elektra, despite the chaos. He wanted to fight for their relationship, for what they had built. But Elektra, wiser now and more guarded than ever, wasn't interested in romantic promises that couldn't be backed up with certainty. The looming paternity test was a shadow over every word. Elektra told Will plainly that until the test results were in, nothing could be decided. No future could be promised. No vow could be made. And until she knew whether or not he had fathered Luna's baby, she couldn't even begin to imagine what came next. The pain in her voice was sharp, honest. Will was flooded with guilt, desperate to repair what might already be broken beyond repair. He apologized again and again, but Elektra wasn't interested in apologies anymore. She wanted clarity. She needed the truth. Back at Forrester Creations, Katie Logan met with Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan in an urgent, tense exchange. Katie had been holding on to critical information, namely, the truth about Luna's survival, and she was finally ready to bring them into the loop. She told Ridge and Brooke that Luna was alive, in hiding, and pregnant. But they couldn't alert anyone yet. The child might be Will's. And until they could confirm paternity, the entire situation needed to be contained. The scandal potential was too explosive. The media, the police, the court of public opinion. It would all come crashing down if this wasn't handled with surgical precision. Ridge was livid that he'd been kept in the dark. Brooke, ever the strategist, agreed with Katie's approach but demanded that they be brought in on every step going forward. Katie assured them that she and Bill had already contacted Bridget Forrester, hoping to get medical guidance on when and how the paternity test could be done safely and discreetly. The last thing they needed was another PR disaster. Until then, Luna's location had to remain a secret. No one outside the circle could know she was alive. Not even the authorities. Meanwhile, Elektra received a visit from Ivy Forrester, her ever-loyal aunt and emotional anchor. Ivy had always looked out for Elektra, and in this moment, she didn't hold back. Ivy reminded her that love wasn't enough when trust had been shattered. She asked the hard question. Even if the child turns out not to be Will's, would Elektra ever really trust him again? Ivy didn't believe that Will could love both Elektra and a child born from betrayal without it becoming a wedge between them. Elektra didn't answer, but her silence was telling. Back at the Spencer estate, Will sat alone, staring at the floor, replaying every mistake that had led him to this point. He remembered the night with Luna. He remembered how it felt. How it all seemed like a blur, an accident, a moment of confusion and weakness. But now, it could define the rest of his life. He pulled out his phone. typing and deleting messages to Electra, to his father, to anyone who might have a solution. But there was no shortcut. The test would come. The truth would come. And when it did, it would either be his salvation or his undoing. In her secret sanctuary, Luna sat quietly, hand over her stomach, whispering to the child she hoped would be her lifeline. She knew the stakes. If the child was Will's, she might walk free. If not, prison was still waiting. Her only hope now was biology and the compassion of people like Katie and Bill. She knew her time in the shadows was running out. Later in the episode, Hope found herself alone in her office, reviewing Dickie's portfolio. His designs were bold, unpolished, but full of promise. As she flipped through sketches, her thoughts kept drifting, to Carter, to Liam, to Luna. She was surrounded by men who wanted something from her. Love, forgiveness, opportunity. And she couldn't escape the feeling that every decision she made would ripple across their lives in ways she couldn't control. But right now, the decision wasn't about Carter or Liam. It was about Dickie. And something about his hunger, his raw vulnerability, reminded her of herself when she first started. She picked up her phone and called him back. Back at Forrester, Ridge paced furiously while Brooke tried to calm him down. Ridge was sick of secrets. First the Hope-Liam-Carter triangle, then Luna's reappearance, now another hidden pregnancy threatening to drag the family name through the mud. Brooke reminded him that this was about protecting a child. Ridge didn't care. He wanted answers. He wanted control. And most of all, he wanted accountability. Katie urged patience. Bridget would advise them on the paternity timeline. Until then, their job was damage control. Nothing more, nothing less. The episode closed with 3 simultaneous shots. Hope telling Dickie she'd give him one design to present at the next showcase. Electra sitting alone on her balcony under the moonlight, and Luna lying awake, staring at the ceiling, hand over her belly, as a single tear rolled down her cheek. The pieces are in place. The countdown to the paternity test result has begun. And when the truth drops, everything will change. The Bold and the Beautiful, October 3rd, 2025, Luna's House of Lies begins to crumble on Friday. October 3rd, 2025, The Bold and the Beautiful pushed the story into dangerous new territory with a fiery confrontation between Luna Nozawa and her grandmother, Lee Finnegan. What began as an emotional, almost triumphant narrative, Luna's belief that she was carrying Will Spencer's child, has now taken a darker, more twisted turn. The foundations of her truth are cracking. Her confidence is faltering, and whispers are growing louder. Is Luna lying? And if so, just how far is she willing to go to protect the lie? The episode opened with Luna alone in the Grand Spencer estate, once again holding her belly and whispering to her unborn baby. The little seed, as she called it. Her fantasy was clear. She envisioned a perfect life with Will, a family reborn through the child she claimed to carry. In her mind, the chaos of recent weeks would melt away as long as this pregnancy tied her to Will forever. She believed he would forgive her, that Electra would disappear, and that Bill Spencer himself would wrap his arms around her and the baby as his legacy continued. It was a dream stitched together by desperation, illusion, and obsession. But dreams, especially on The Bold and the Beautiful, are often the first thing to shatter. Without warning, the door opened and in walked Lee Finnegan. Not a word was spoken at first. The weight of her presence alone filled the room with tension. Luna froze. The confident glow she wore when talking to Bill and Katie days earlier dimmed instantly. She was not prepared for this confrontation, not in her current state, not with this woman. Lee wasn't just family. She was a mirror that could not be fooled. Her eyes saw through masks. Her tone cut through delusions. And her loyalty had always been to truth, not blood. Luna tried to regain composure, smiling and offering tea as if this were a casual visit. It wasn't. Lee had come for answers, and she wasn't leaving without them. She wasted no time and went straight to the point. Tell me this is not Will's child. Her voice wasn't angry. It was cold, controlled, precise. Luna blinked, tried to deflect, but the damage had already started. Lee noted the change in Luna's expression. This wasn't the same smug, confident girl who had declared her pregnancy to Katie Logan and Bill Spencer just days ago. Around them, Luna had been radiant, almost smug, basking in their divided reactions. She wielded the pregnancy like a weapon, a shield, and a golden ticket all at once. But now, she was cornered, hesitant, defensive, and Lee saw it all. Every flicker in Luna's eyes. Every twitch in her posture. Lee leaned forward. You weren't this sure when you were talking to your doctor either, she said. Luna's breath caught. It was subtle, but Lee noticed it. Luna's deflection turned to denial, repeating that Will was the father, that there was no question. But her voice cracked, her hands trembled slightly, and her tone lacked conviction. This wasn't a proud mother to be. This was a woman lying to herself as much as to everyone else. The conversation escalated quickly. Lee pressed harder, demanding Luna tell the truth, even if it meant destroying everything she had built. Luna, growing desperate, accused her grandmother of not believing in her, of always judging her, of wanting her to fail. But the accusations rang hollow. Lee reminded her that family meant accountability, not blind loyalty. And if Luna had dragged another man into this story, then everyone deserved the truth. Especially the baby. That's when the real questions started. What actually happened that night? Luna had told the world that she and Will had shared a night of passion. But now, cracks were forming in the timeline. Her behavior was off. Her story lacked the consistency of someone grounded in fact. It was starting to look like there was someone else involved that night. Someone Luna hadn't told anyone about. Enter the whispers, Remy Price. The name wasn't spoken aloud in the confrontation between Luna and Lee, but the audience knew. The streets of Los Angeles were already buzzing with speculation. Luna had crossed paths with Remy repeatedly in the weeks leading up to that night. They were seen together. There were unaccounted hours. And Remy, who once shadowed Elektra in his own shady subplot, now found himself suspiciously connected to a situation that seemed to benefit Luna far more than him. Theories multiplied. Had Luna really slept with Remy that night and used it as a backup plan to claim Will as the father? If so, it wouldn't be the first time someone used a pregnancy to escape consequences. Luna was staring down jail time. She was under fire from all sides. Claiming the child was Will's gave her protection. It kept the cops at bay. It bought her time. But what if she gambled on the wrong DNA? Luna's arrogance had been growing in recent episodes, her delusions building. She believed the baby was her golden ticket out of prison and into the Spencer dynasty. She told the baby that Elektra wouldn't be around much longer. She saw herself not as a criminal or a disgraced socialite, but as the new queen of the Spencer legacy. In her mind, this child rewrote the past. She wasn't the villain. She was the future. But Lee's visit shattered that illusion. In front of the one person who knew her best, Luna was reduced to a nervous wreck. She couldn't look her grandmother in the eyes. She flinched at every direct question. She stammered when asked about prenatal appointments, test dates, and the baby's development. And when Lee told her, flatly, that if this was all a lie, she would personally make sure Luna faced the full weight of the law. Luna said nothing, because there was nothing left to say. Back at Forrester Creations, the rumors were already swirling. Ivy Forrester and Elektra exchanged cautious glances as they discussed the mounting drama. Elektra didn't need a test to know something was off. She had already told Will she would wait for the results before committing to anything. But even she sensed it. Something about Luna's pregnancy didn't feel right. Ivy warned her not to let emotion cloud logic. Elektra nodded, steeling herself for whatever came next. And Will? He sat alone in his office, haunted by the past and fearful of the future. Every heartbeat brought him closer to a reality he couldn't control. If the baby was his, everything would change. If it wasn't, everything already had. The final scene returned to Luna, alone once again. She stood in front of a mirror, placing both hands over her belly, whispering the same words she had spoken before. You're our future. But this time, her eyes flickered with something else, doubt. Because the truth wasn't just threatening to come out. It was already here. And when the paternity test results arrive, when the DNA strips away the fantasy and forces the facts onto the table, the bold and the beautiful will never be the same.